of these people had a lack of self-control, and their fleeting impulses brought them into different problems in their life. The writer of Proverbs has some words to say about self-control. Proverbs 25:28, he said this. He said, "A person without self-control is like a city with broken down walls." Now, that may not make a lot of sense to us today, or mean a lot to us, but when those verses were written, they were incredibly powerful to people in the ancient world, because the walls of the city were vital to the survival of any people group. In fact, a city wall provided three things. Number one, a city wall provided power. To everyone outside the city, that wall let them know that there was order and there was power in the city. For a city to have walls, there had to be leadership in place. It was a sign of strength and a sign of prosperity. But a city with broken down walls was a city that had lost its power, that had lost its leadership. Broken down walls were a sign of weakness, and they were a sign of disarray. The author says a person that doesn't have self-control is powerless. They're weak. They're lacking the internal leadership to experience success in their life. Second thing a city wall provided was identity. When a city had a powerful and intact wall, there was no question if you were inside the city or you were outside the city. The wall said, this is the city limit. They provided boundaries for that city, right? When we have self-control, it's a sign that we know who we are, that our identity is intact and our self-control is in place. We have boundaries. This is where I go, and this is where I don't go, and I have self-control. But a person without self-control is like a city with broken boundaries and a lack of identity. You probably know someone like this, right? A person lacking self-control wanders from thing to thing, looking for purpose, looking for meaning in life, right? And while they give in to their emotions and their desires and their impulses, they have no self-control and they're lacking identity and purpose. Lastly, and maybe most importantly, a city wall provided protection. A city wall that was high and strong let the enemies know on the outside that attacking them would be difficult. It was an indicator that behind those walls was a trained army that was ready to defend that city. But a broken down wall was like an open invitation to be attacked and destroyed. And a person who lacks self-control is open to all sorts of attacks of the enemy. When this virtue is missing or underdeveloped in our lives, there's room for our impulses, our desires, and our emotions to run rampant in our lives, creating all kinds of permanent problems for us. One commentator put it this way, and I thought it was really powerful. Here is one, the good character of a wise and virtuous man implied. He's the one that has rule over his own spirit. He maintains the government of himself and of his own appetites and passions. He does not suffer them to rebel against reason and conscience. He has the rule of his own thoughts, his desires, his inclinations, his resentments, and keeps them all in good order. The bad case of a vicious man who has not the rule over his own spirit, who, when temptations to excess in eating or drinking are before him, he has no government of himself. When he's provoked, breaks out into exorbitant passions, such as one is like a city that's broken down and without walls. All that is good goes out and forsakes him, and all that is evil breaks in upon him. So how do we have self-control, right? The writer of Proverbs talked about it being this broken down wall. How do we have self-control? How do we develop this virtue in our lives so that we're not like a city that has broken down walls? Well, for the follower of Jesus, the start of self-control is actually God control.